What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Weekly Watt. I'm your host, Colin Jenkins, alongside my guest today, Colby Landry, who, for those of you who don't know, she's a strength and conditioning coach for the Tempo Fitness Studio, as well as the brand new Tempo Move. Thanks so much for being here, Colby. How's it going over there?
Thank you so much for having me. It's going good. Super rainy in San Francisco, so perfect day to talk to you. Hang out, kick
It's
it.
definitely been a little bit of a bad weather type of day, but I like that too. Get, hold up, turn on the tempo. And I saw that you were recently up in Bellevue, Washington for like a meet and greet at one of the Tempo's brand new stores. How did that go?
Oh my God, it was incredible. It is my first time ever meeting Tempo users in person,
Wow.
not on accident. I mean, sometimes I
Yeah.
meet them in the world, but just in a space that was meant to be an interactive. And it was pretty funny because a couple times people were like, "Oh my God, Coach Colby," and I was like, "Oh my God, at your screen name!" Like it's crazy to
Mhm.
actually just put a face or to the name and have a reason to do what I do virtually.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then do you end up doing anything else fun up there, or was like it too cold
I
to just hunker inside?
Unfortunately I was only there for a little over 24 hours, maybe like 30 hours.
Oh wow.
I
Yeah.
I love Seattle though. I
Yeah.
know Bellevue is right outside of it, but it's such a cute town, and the store is really cool. I mean, to be able to actually walk in and get to like use
Mhm.
the tempo move, and the studio, and really understand what we do because it's hard to describe,
Mhm.
is really cool. And of course, Bellevue is actually just, I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's just a giant
Mhm.
mall. It's
Okay.
very bizarre. It's just a
Yeah.
giant outdoor mall everywhere you go. Great for Christmas shopping. So
Oh,
did some of that.
interesting. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you didn't know, this is the Weekly Watt, where we cover all of the latest connected fitness news and updates, as well as bring on fantastic guests like Colby here to pick their brains and learn from them each and every week. If you like that, you could support the show by subscribing to the Connect the Watts YouTube channel or the weekly podcast at the podcast service of your choice. And of course, you can tune in and interact live on these weekly interviews here at YouTube at youtube.com/connect the watts. So, Coley, what I think a lot of people would like to know, and I certainly would, is a little bit more about your background in fitness and how you kind of rose up to the position where you are now, coaching thousands of people through Tempo. And prior to this show, your dad actually filled me in on a little bit. I don't know if you're aware of that. Did you see anything of what he wrote?
No, oh my God, that's amazing. He's way more Facebook and like he's
Hmm.
active on social media. He's on it, you know?
Yeah, well,
That's
he wrote
amazing.
quite a bit, like details everything from your ultrasound to your 91-year-old grandpa who has a boxing history, to your grandma named Sunny, who's a dancer and singer. But he did mention that learning to box was not influenced by him or anybody, but it was actually your idea. So I guess what influenced you to take up boxing in the first place?
Well, what's very funny is I think a lot of people assume that I've just been an athlete my entire life, and fitness has always just been something that I love and has been easy
Hmm.
for me. And I've always had a bunch of muscles, and that's so far from the truth. And I think my dad was very surprised when I took up boxing because he was a bodybuilder and an Ironman and an athlete, and took me to the gym for the first time when I was like 12 or 13. And I
Yeah.
hated it. And it just was not motivating for me. Um, and that being said, I was a drama nerd all through high school, but we did physical theater. So it was a lot of lifting
Okay.
people and throwing people using scaffolding. And the first month was all just stamina based workouts because we had to sing and also move around a
Yeah.
lot. And I think I didn't realize until like 10 years later that the fitness aspect of that was really the most rewarding part. So after
Yeah.
college, and I did environmental studies, I just wanted to help people, but I didn't know how. I got a
Hmm.
job, just landed a job in sales at Equinox,
Got it.
and kind of knew I needed to like reshape my health and wellness because I was just
Hmm.
a waitress and a college girl in San Francisco, like frankly drinking a lot and eating a lot and enjoying life
Hmm.
and not getting enough sleep, that kind of thing. So having a job at a gym felt like a really nice next step. And my
Hmm.
first trainer there was a professional MMA fighter.
Okay.
His name is Israel Delgado, if anyone wants to check him out. He's an undefeated MMA fighter, and he taught me Muay Thai. And it was the first time that fitness felt like I wanted to come back. Like I wanted to pay him to do fitness. So I continued to do that for about a year and a half and hated my job, but loved MMA. So I ended up going back to waitressing and getting my NASM certification, training at an MMA gym here called El Nino, which is owned by Gilbert Melendez. And decided I didn't see a lot of females holding mitts. So it kind of clicked, like maybe that was my entryway into fitness, because the weight training side of it wasn't the most exciting portion for me when it came to fitness. Yeah.
And got it. And so you started coaching boxing, or, and then you transitioned or got picked up by Tempo, somehow. So maybe tell me a little bit about how that all came about.
Well, this is actually a great story because it has to do with Melissa. Shout out Coach Melissa. She is the head coach at Tempo. She used to own a little boutique studio in San Francisco for years. And I was first a client way back in the day before I started fitnessing. And then when I started doing group fitness on top of being a personal trainer, because the two are very different. If people don't usually realize how different those worlds are. You know better than anyone, coming from CrossFit and then also personal training, which CrossFit does a really good job at kind of marrying the two. But she also does a very good job at marrying the two. It's the first place that I went that you could go exclusively taking classes and actually see results at a studio. So props Melissa. I taught there for about a year, and then she walked away from that studio, was doing her own things, new endeavors, etc. And started, little did I know she was working for Tempo, got an email from her and our hiring manager at the time. And they were like, hey, do you want to come audition for Tempo? And I was like, anywhere Melissa is, I will go. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So here I am.
Yeah. And so for you're coaching in-person group classes, then you go from that to a lot of coaching to a camera. Like you're saying, it's how different that could be. So I guess like, how is that transition of like coaching in front of realistically like nobody, but there's actually hundreds of people on the other side? Like how much different is that for you? And how hard was that to kind of transition to like going to that?
Totally. It's very different and very strange. And it was a really hard transition at first, but it's been incredibly rewarding because, in person, you can only help so many people. You can only like get through to so many people. You can only inspire so many people. And this allows us the opportunity to like open the doors to everyone, and at a significantly less high price than what personal training or hourly group fitness classes usually cost, right? So that's been really good for me, because we all go into this industry kind of thinking, oh, I want to help people and I want to change people's lives. But what inevitably happens is we start training the people that can afford to train with us, and the people that really need training are kind of left to figure it out. And so I think Tempo for me was the first place that I saw basically a virtual fitness company being like, we're going to be a workout solution, not just a workout experience. And although people don't want to work out for more than 25 minutes, or they don't want to lift a heavy weight, we're going to encourage them to do that, because it's going to actually inspire results and change their lives. So this is the first job I've ever had in fitness where I've actually seen real results happen, right? Because I've been with a lot of these clients long term, and they've been actually committing to programs as opposed to kind of falling off the wagon, which happens so often as a personal trainer client relationship, right?
And that's kind of an interesting point, because it was something I was going to talk to you about too. Is I don't think most people realize, because advertising the Tempo, a lot of it's focused on like the tech side of things, like how you can track your reps or help with form feedback and all that type of information. But what most people don't realize, when I was reviewing the Tempo and taking a lot of classes, is one of the biggest differentiators isn't necessarily the tech at all. The tech is fine, and great. But the more interesting differentiator was that actual program instruction and how things were laid out. Because, I take a lot of fitness online classes, and they all have their, unique structures and way they're presented. But I found that tempo was kind of a much more similar to what you would get if you were to actually go to like a strength and conditioning facility that was, you go and you're taking a class where, like you were saying, that you're encouraged to do things that it's not necessarily you don't always want to do, or you need to take this much rest between weights, which most people don't realize to get results, or their form isn't that great. So maybe you should take these classes that focus on improving your form, and on and on and on, or taking like a 30-minute or 40-minute mobility class to work on some, preventative issues, or, preventing you from doing what you want to do. And so I found that was very fascinating and interesting about tempo, because and I think I said this in the review, it's not just like at home training, but it's actually real training inside your home. And like, I think I have a guess now, kind of hearing about where it came from, but I was curious about like how that came to be, because it seems like all the coaches are pretty much on the same page with this type of philosophy and how they create their programs.
It really comes from like the first trainers, and that's Clarence, Cole, and Melissa, kind of just really being the type of people that, like you said, just want the integrity of their workouts to come through. Like I'm not just giving you a workout that's going to make you sweat a lot and move around. This workout is going to help you get somewhere or achieve whatever goal it is that you have in mind. And I mean, I think that the most rewarding part of tempo has been women at tempo realizing that if they want results, they need to lift weights. And it's the hardest thing to like tell females to do, because it's so counterintuitive to what we've been told for so long. And I'm really excited for what tempo is bringing, because it is the first place that's like, I'm not just offering you some sadistic workout that's 50 minutes of like running and jumping and like moving and lifting, but actual results. And why are you doing this? What are you doing? Think about what you're doing as you're doing it, and kind of being able to hopefully take those movements and maybe even do like your own workout. Maybe you don't even want to turn on the tempo for a second, and you're like, I know I can pair like squats and bicep curls today. I want to do those two lifts, and I know how to do them perfectly because I do them often. Does that kind of answer your question?
Oh, no, absolutely. No, definitely. And I think it's just super smart kind of in the direction that you guys are going, because like the brand new Tempo Move, for example, for those of you who don't know, the Tempo Studio, I have it behind here, but it's big. It's a fairly, it's a big purchase to make. You're investing a lot. There you go. It's right behind you.
Yeah.
And so, but for a lot of people, especially, maybe females who've never lifted weights before, it could definitely be an intimidating purchase to jump into. Whereas new Tempo Move is like under $400. It looks like it fit anybody's living room. It looks nice. It's not intimidating. It comes with like enough weights for anybody to get started with and in a strength program. And so it's like, to me, it seems very smart to get people in the door in basic strength training and get them kind of, in that type of program where they're learning these different movements and getting better and seeing results. And then, hopefully over time, they're like, oh, maybe I want to get some more weights or get a barbell, or, they kind of build from there rather than intimidating them with like, everything at once. So I think that's really cool. I think a lot of people are going to get into, strength training for the first time because of it.
Well, and it's been very, very, my gym, I have a gym in my building, just opened like, a few months ago, and walking around it's sad, because you just see people kind of walking around very intimidated and confused. And then you see certain workouts that you're like, why are they doing that? And you can kind of tell that someone gave them like this move and someone else gave them that move. And now they just go to the gym and do what they've been told by somebody somewhere, but they're not actually doing anything like progressive.
And those are the people brave enough to actually go, in there. Whereas most people they don't know what they're doing. So they just really would not feel comfortable going in. So no, it's a great way to get people started into their fitness journey in there. And then Colby, I wanted to talk to you about a problem I know a lot of us are having around the holidays. And that is staying motivated to eat well and work out throughout this month. I know I personally, yesterday I had pizza, I had a burrito. The only workouts I did was I did run a 1K with my 3-year-old daughter, but that was
Yes.
a walk for me. And I did
But for her, that's
I
like,
did a, for her, oh, she killed it. And then
yeah.
I did this, like, I'm testing out the Oculus Rift for another review, which is like a VR headset. And I did this like workout on there, which, we talk about, like, it's fun, but we talk about real training versus kind of like other stuff. That's definitely in the realm of not real training. but yeah, so like even like somebody, I have a ton of fitness stuff all the time around me. It can be very hard. So I wanted to know,
Yeah.
one, is this something that you've ever struggled with, or like, are you just like a cyborg, stay motivated all the time type of person?
I absolutely struggle with it during the holidays, and like,
Mm-hmm.
hello, seasonal depression. Like, that definitely
Yeah.
happens to all of us too, whether we want to accept it or not, or
Mm-hmm.
at least the vast majority, I have to think.
Yeah.
But I think like the biggest thing is setting goals and not big goals, right? Like, if you're not in a position to set big goals in one area because you're stressing about all the other areas in your life, which usually tends to happen during the holidays because there's a million things to do and accomplish and take care of at once, all while trying to seem like you're having the best time ever, right?
Mm-hmm.
So setting goals that are small, like my goal is to work out twice a week, every week for all of winter. Or my goal is to bake or is to cook dinner every weekday through the holidays. Like, little things like that can just make you feel like you're maintaining, as
Yeah.
opposed to, I'm going to get shredded and lose 10 pounds during the holidays. Like, that's maybe not going to happen right now. And maybe you need to cut yourself some slack and just be like, on Mondays, I eat really healthy and I don't eat any desserts.
Yeah.
The rest of the week, I'm enjoying myself and not like making my whole life this stress about fitness and big overarching goals that I just don't have the wherewithal to handle right now.
For sure. And I think that's a great point, because I think a lot of people think it's, it's an all or none kind of situation for fitness,
Yes.
and that they need to, always be in a certain level or a certain state. But, as people who've been doing it for a long time and seen a lot of people, it's much more cyclical, and there's nothing
Yes.
necessarily wrong about that. But as long as but it's better to try to minimize the damage on those periods where, you're not necessarily going full board.
It's really important to remember that training is never linear. It's never going to be like, I started here and then I was here and here and here and here and here and here and here. It's not.
Yep.
So you're going to get injured. Something's going to happen in your family. There's going to be other things that take precedent over your fitness routine. And then that becomes a whole other opportunity for a new goal. Say you have an injury now, your goal is fixing that injury and moving better and making sure that it doesn't happen again, those sorts of things, right? Your goal is not losing weight anymore. Your goal is not building your shoulders anymore, right? And then in those in-between times, then you can have those bigger goals. Definitely. But I think the beauty of tempo too is that it really just, it's like, let's move better and let that be the goal. And then we can maybe compile more on top of that once we feel like we can move well and we feel good about ourselves,
Definitely. And so in terms of goals and big goals, I wanted to ask you about, 2022. It's almost here, if you can believe it. And I don't know, for me, sometimes I like setting goals for the beginning of the year. Some people do, some people don't. Do you have any big goals or things you'd like to accomplish this next year?
I really want to fight. So I want to get my fight license and take an amateur fight. It was a goal of mine in 2020. And then with gyms closing and really just not sparring anymore, kind of like took a back seat. And unfortunately, as much as I love my job at Tempo, it does get in the way of my own training protocol. So like, I kind of feel selfish sparring 3 times a week when I need to be able to teach 3 classes on Saturday morning. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So with more coaches and our company growing, that's going to be more possible for me. And then I'll have a bunch of Tempo people just cheering me on. My little dinky amateur fight someday,
Yes.
But that's something I really want to do. I think I really want to win a fight and I really want to lose a fight at some point in my life.
Okay. That sounds great. Yeah. Awesome. So Kobe, I'm going to grab a few questions that I got from people in the Tempo community that they wanted to ask you. There's a bunch. I picked 3.
Oh, yay.
So we'll go through some of these. Harlan would like to know what you would like to see if we were to fast forward 5 years into Tempo's future. So what would you love to see in 5 years is a long time. I mean, just this past year has been crazy in terms of stuff. So what would you imagine, or what would you love to see 5 years from now with Tempo?
I guess selfishly, I would like to see a much more vast boxing program. I would like more boxing coaches. I would like more boxing equipment. It's not that far off in the future that we're going to be able to track your movement when it comes to boxing, as far as like the velocity, the power, those kinds of things. And really, like, we've just kind of scratched the surface of boxing at Tempo. So I hope that becomes something bigger, and in the same breath, other denominations, right? Like, we're about to bring on Pilates. Hope maybe we'll have someone that teaches kickboxing, maybe someone that teaches, would be kind of hard, but things like that are just more sports specific, that allow people to find like their niche fitness love and like continue to progress with it.
No, that's awesome. I had never, prior to like Tempo, I had never taken any type of boxing classes before. And so I've done now a bunch. And I'll have to say that I was shocked at how sore I was, because I don't get sore very easily at all. I'm weird like that. I could do 1,000 squats, 100 burpees. I'll be tired and I'll be not wanting to walk around, but I won't be that sore. Maybe it's because I haven't done it, or, you kind of get into throwing the punches or whatever it is. I was like wrecked. My like upper body was just messed up for like the first, week or two when I was doing that stuff. So if anybody hasn't tried it, I would definitely suggest it, because it's actually way different, a lot more fun than I thought.
I love that you say that, because I think that's also the common misconception with shadow boxing is people are like, well, if I'm not punching something, like, I'm not doing anything. And you're showcasing that actually when you're shadow boxing, it's a lot harder, because you don't have the feedback or the support of something to lean on. You're using only body mechanics, balance, and strength, right? So like, if you're throwing that punch, you don't have something to kind of like sit on. You're having to use your legs, and you're having to use your abs, and you're having to keep everything locked in order not to just fall over. So shadow boxing is the way that everybody should start to box. It seems like the least glamorous side of boxing, because people are like, they feel dumb, essentially. But it does the trick. And I'm telling you, I boxed for now, just 5 years. But like, whenever I film those classes, the next day I'm like, oh my God, my inner thighs.
It's crazy. And so the next question here is, Susan would like to know how you get motivated to teach in front of the camera, almost every day, how you get that motivation to do it.
Wow. Some days are harder than others. I definitely have like my techs, like the people that operate the cameras, a lot of the times think I'm a crazy person, because they see me literally in tears and then get on the mat and teach a great, happy class. But I think it's like, really, it's people like Susan, as cheesy as it sounds. It's like, I am really inspired by their stories. And at the end of the day, I'm not on that mat for me. Like, I wouldn't have lasted that long in this career if I did this for me and my own ego. I do it for you guys. And I do it so that you guys can see results and feel better. Maybe not see results, but just feel better for that 30 minutes or those 20 minutes, right? So I just have to remind myself that it's not about me. And also, faking it till you make it goes a long way. So like, it's not the worst job in the world to have to pretend to smile, and then you kind of leave the mat being like, oh, today wasn't as bad as I thought it was. Feel much better.
Definitely. And so the final question for you, and this was actually the most requested question by far, it was, how do you work out and sweat without putting your hair back in a ponytail? Seems to bewilder a lot of people, not me, because I have no clue what that even means in terms of like,
I love it.
But a lot of people want to know how you do it.
I use a lot of hairspray. A lot of hairspray. B, this is not my workout. So yes, I'm working hard. I'm burning calories. I'm breathing hard. I'm lifting the same weights as you. But like I'm pulling back and holding back on my workout because I can't be like a sweaty mess on the floor because I have to coach you guys. So really, it's me holding back. Like I don't curl my hair and put on like a wingtip eyeliner before I do my own workouts. I look bad. My hair is always up in my own workout. So it's really just, it's vanity. I pull back so the hair can live.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, Colby,
And
it was lots of hairspray.
Yep.
Colby, it was great to have you on. Thank you so much for jumping in with us here today. So that's it, ladies and gentlemen. We appreciate you being here today as well. And remember to subscribe to the channel or podcast or however you're listening to this so that you can continue to get all of the latest connected fitness news, reviews, tips, and guides. I'm hoping to have a review of the tempo move later this week. So make sure to check that out, and we'll see you next time. See you later.